All right, so first we have Zhang Muhan to talk about link prediction.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming to my talk. Today I will introduce a novel link prediction algorithm called Whisper-Lemon neural machine, developed by me and my advisor, Professor Yixing Chen. I also want to thank Zhicheng Cui, Professor Roman Garnett, and Professor Sammy Das for the helpful discussions on this one. Let's first see some link prediction applications. This figure is a screenshot of Facebook's brand recommendation system. As we can see, this suggests the people you may know by counting the mutual friends you share with these people. This is a link prediction example in a social network. Given a person in a social network, link prediction aims to predict which people this person is most likely to connect to in order to help users to establish connections. The second example comes from Amazon's product recommendation. When you buy a product, Amazon will recommend some items that are frequently bought together with this product. This is an example of link prediction in the user product network. Given an incomplete network, link prediction is to predict whether two nodes are likely to have a link. Besides the previous examples, other applications include predicting collaborations between researchers in a citation network, predicting reactions in biological systems, and so on. The most widely used methods for link prediction are called heuristic methods. A heuristic method predicts links by calculating a proximity score for each pair of nodes. There are many very simple but effective heuristics for link prediction. I will go over 4 representative ones with you. And I will use gamma x to denote the neighbor set of x in the graph. The first one, called the common neighbors heuristic, is just what is used in the Facebook example. It predicts links by counting the common neighbors between x and y as the likelihood of x and y having a link. It assumes that x and y are likely to be friends if they have many common friends. The second heuristic, called the preferential attachment heuristic, predicts links by the product of x and y's degrees. It assumes that x prefers to connect to y if y is popular. This is also a reasonable heuristic. Both the common neighbor heuristic and the preferential attachment heuristic are first-order heuristic, since one only needs to know the one-hop neighbors of x and y in order to calculate the heuristic scores. Now let's see a second-order heuristic, the admit adder heuristic. Basically, it is a weighted common neighbors, in which a high-degree common neighbor, such as A, is weighted less than a low-degree common neighbor. This makes sense because both x and y connecting to A is not surprising, since A also has many other connections. But x and y both connecting to B is informative, since B has no other connections. So the common neighbor B contributes more than the common neighbor A in x and y's likelihood of having a link. This is a second-order heuristic, since it involves up to 2 hop neighbors of x and y to compute the heuristic score. Now let's see a higher-order heuristic, the CAS index. The CAS. Okay.
Quick question. Do you have a specific objective function in mind when you're deciding, the likelihood of a link? So what's the benefit of having that link? So what is the function that you
No, we don't have this function. We just want to maximize the number of links you predict out, or maximize the AUC score that you predict a link.
So what is the metric that you use to measure the goodness of your prediction?
Yes, it's AUC score. AUC score measures a random, how much probability a random positive link has a higher score than a random negative link. It's called AUC score.
So I know that I was like, you use this for
Okay.
So I think what Rob was getting at is every link as important as every other link?
Yes. Yeah. Please interrupt me anytime because I'm very nervous. Okay, the class index sums all paths between x and y. With each path discounted according to its length. So a longer path is discounted more than a shorter path. This class index is a high order heuristic, since one needs to search the entire graph in order to find all the paths between x and y. There are over 30 different heuristics for link prediction. Table 1 shows some popular ones. But the problems are, firstly, there is no universally good heuristic for link prediction. A heuristic may work well on some certain kinds of networks, but may perform poorly on others. The second problem is that there are some networks where no existing heuristics can perform well. Let's see an example. This figure shows the AUC performance of 10 heuristics on 6 benchmark networks from a survey paper. And as we can see, all methods perform poorly on the power grid network and the router level internet network. They are only slightly better than random guess. This means that no heuristic actually captures the true link formation mechanisms of these two networks. Since the heuristic scores can be seen as some handcrafted graph features, and so this motivates a question: can we directly learn such graph features from the network itself? This motivates the proposed method, Westphaler-Lemon neural machine, which automatically learns graphs of this.
Can you explain how those experiments, how you do these experiments? So it's the idea that you take a network and you delete some edges, and then you try to predict those edges.
Yes.
You delete the edges like uniformly at random from all the edges?
Yes.
Okay. And like how many of them do you do?
About 10%.
Okay.
Yes, this motivates the Westphaler-Lemon neural machine. It automatically learns graph features for link prediction from the network itself, instead of relying on some heuristic scores. This figure illustrates the overall framework of Westphaler-Lemon neural machine. Given a network, Westphaler-Lemon neural machine first samples a set of positive links and illustrated as the link AB, and also a set of negative links illustrated as AC, as the training links. And then it extracts a local neighborhood subgraph for each link as the characterization local pattern of this link. After that, graph labeling methods are used to determine the vertex order of these enclosing subgraphs. And then we construct an adjacency matrix using these vertex orders. And finally, the matrix label pairs are fed into a neural network to learn a link prediction model. Let's first see, how does Westphaler-Lemon neural machine extract subgraphs? Given the target nodes x and y, we iteratively add their one-hop neighbors, two-hop neighbors, three-hop neighbors, and so on, until the subgraph has k nodes. You can see that the enclosing subgraph actually depicts the local pattern of a link, which may contain much information about whether this link is likely to exist. And moreover, if k is large enough, the enclosing subgraph can contain all the information needed to calculate the first order and second order heuristic. For example, in this subgraph, it contains all the one-hop neighbors and two-hop neighbors of x and y. So we can calculate all the first order and second order heuristics in this, based on this subgraph. So this subgraph representation of links are very informative. Given the extracted enclosing subgraphs, we need to construct an adjacency matrix. So we need to determine the vertex ordering for this adjacency matrix. Here we use graph labeling methods to do this. Graph labeling is a kind of algorithms that assigns positive integer colors, positive integer labels to graph vertices. Like this example. it assigns positive integer colors or labels to the graph vertices. Intuitively, we have two requirements for the graph labeling methods used here. Firstly, it should label the graph vertices according to their structural roles within the subgraph. That is to say, if two nodes of two different subgraphs should have similar labels if and only if they have similar structural roles within their respective graphs. This is important for machine learning models to determine. This is important for machine learning models to read different subgraphs in a consistent order. And later we will show the WL algorithm is an eligible one. The second requirement is that the graph labeling method should also keep the intrinsic directionality of the subgraph. This is because the subgraph is constructed iteratively by adding new nodes outward from the center. We can achieve this by, for example, letting the nodes closer to the center to have smaller labels than the farther ones. In such a way, we can encode the directionality information into the graph labels. Yes, the graph labeling method we used is called the Westphaler-Lyman algorithm. It labels vertices according to their structural roles. It first assigns initial color 1 to all the graph vertices. And then it constructs a signature string by concatenating its own color and its neighbor's colors as a signature string. After that, all the signature strings are compressed into new positive integer colors in the lexical order. And this process is repeated until the colors converge. The final colors of Westphaler-Lyman algorithm depicts the topological positions of a node in a graph. For example, see these two nodes with color 4. They are actually share symmetric roles within this graph. So Westphaler-Lyman algorithm is an eligible graph labeling method that meets our first requirement. But how do we let the WL colors encode the directionality information? We can easily achieve this by assigning initial colors to nodes based on their distance to the centers instead of assigning initial color 1 to all nodes. For example, we can assign initial color 1 to the two target nodes x and y, and initial color 2 to all the one-hop neighbors, and 3 to all the two-hop neighbors, and so on. And after that, we ran the classical Westphaler-Lyman on these initial colors to get the final colors. The color order preserving property of the classical Westphaler-Lyman ensures that the final colors still observe the initial color order. You can see with this example. All the one-hop neighbors still have smaller colors than the two-hop neighbors. And all the two-hop neighbors, the green ones, still have smaller colors than the yellow ones. So that we can encode the directionality information into these graph labels. And we have some theorem. Yeah.
Sorry, just so I'm clear, is this guaranteed to assign a different color to each node?
No. We can break tags using some graph canonization tools, for example, Naughty or something else. Yeah, very good question. We have some theorems, definitions, and proofs to show that the classical Westphaler-Lyman is a color order preserving algorithm. And although the classical Westphaler-Lyman is an algorithm that meets our two requirements, it is slow since it needs to iteratively read, store, and sort the possibly long signature strings. There is a hashing Westphaler-Lyman invented by Professor Garnett that uses a perfect hash function to map unique signatures to unique real values. It is typically much faster than the classical Westphaler-Lyman, but it is no longer color order preserving. To fix this issue, we modified the hash WL a little by adding a normalization term, and we can show that it is still perfect hashing, and moreover, it becomes color order preserving, so it becomes an eligible algorithm and fast. Here is a story about this. There is a story about this. When I first searched the WL implementation on the internet, I immediately found Professor Garnett's hashing implementation. But I found the colors sometimes do not converge. The partitions do converge, but the colors do not converge. And Professor Garnett very soon send me a modified code by changing the convergence tag from checking colors to checking partitions. And he also said there should be some more elegant ways to deal with this convergence issue. And I think the answer is here. By adding this normalization term, we can make the hashing WL become color order preserving. And we have some rigorous proof to show that the resulting WL takes at most k iterations for the colors to converge. And finally, we need to construct an adjacency matrix and feed it into a neural network. Given the convert WL colors, we can determine the vertex order based on these colors and construct an adjacency matrix. You can see that because of the color order preserving property of WL, the two target nodes will always have the smallest labels, final colors, in the end. So this guarantees that the target link is always encoded in the A12 of the adjacency matrix, shown as the yellow star here. This is very important, since otherwise this yellow star may appear arbitrarily in this adjacency matrix, so that the machine learning models, the neural networks, cannot distinguish which is the target link to predict. And after that, this upper triangular adjacency matrix is vertically fed into a 3-layer fully connected neural network to train a link prediction model. We did some visualization experiments to show the learned weights and some extracted subgraphs. We can see that the learned weights, this is a 3-regular network. We can see that the learned weights show some clear patterns, and the extracted two most frequent positive enclosing subgraphs, actually they are just the building blocks of this 3-regular network. And the graph labels, the vertex labels, meet our requirements. This is another example on a preferential attachment network. You can also see that it extracts the building blocks of this network. We also did the visualization experiment on the US airline network. This result is interesting. Since the most frequent positive enclosing subgraph is a clique, this is because big cities have more airlines than small cities, and big cities tend to establish dense connections with other big cities. So this results in many cliques in the US airline networks. And our method successfully extract these patterns. For the performance experiments, we compare Whisper-Lemma neural machine with 13 baseline methods. And it outperforms all the baselines on 6 out of 8 benchmark datasets. Moreover, for the power and router networks, where few existing heuristic scores can perform significantly better than random guess, our method can perform extremely well on this too hard to predict network. This is because Whisper-Lemma neural machine does not assume particular link formation mechanisms, but learn this mechanism from the network itself, so it can learn some new suitable heuristics for different networks. We also compared several graph labeling methods. You can see that the color order preserving hashing WL performs significantly better than other methods. Especially, it is better than the original hashing WL. This is because the new WL is color order preserving, so it can encode the directionality information into the vertex labels, and resulting in better graph representations. This figure shows the cumulative ranks of Whisper-Lemma compared to other methods, and you can see the rank line consistently outperforms other methods. Conclusions. In this work, we propose Whisper-Lemma neural machine, which automatically learns graph feature for link prediction from links enclosing subgraphs, instead of using the heuristic scores. We use a color order preserving hashing WL to impose the vertex ordering. experiment results show that our method not only outperforms all heuristic methods on most benchmark datasets, but also performs very well on the two networks where few existing heuristics can work well. In summary, Whisperer Lambda neural machine is a next generation universally good link prediction method. And thank you. Questions?
So have you basically showed that like higher order heuristics like useless?
Not so useful as you think, because previous experimental results also show that the higher order heuristics do not necessarily mean higher performance. Yeah.
So one technical question, which is when you're training this, right? How exactly do you do the training? What you take as gold standard data?
What do you mean by gold standard data?
Like, what are your positive and negative examples? So suppose you're training on one of these networks, right? Like the power network or something. You have to train your network, right?
Yeah.
So what are the positive and negative examples?
The positive examples are just the existing links in the network. But for most networks, we don't have some negative links that we are sure this is not a link.
Yeah.
So we just sample some non-existent links as the negative links. These links are actually, they are unknown status. We don't know whether they are positive or negative.
And then I guess I'm just wondering, like, so the other heuristics, right, they seem kind of universal in some sense. So is this also universal? Like, you're training on the entire set of networks, or do you do specialized training per network and then prediction on that network?
No. It's universal.
So the training gives you the exact same things over everything. Okay, interesting. And then when you're testing, you randomly delete some links?
Yes.
Could those links have appeared in your training data?
No.
No,
You
you're
completely
holding
separate.
them.
Yes.
Completely separate.
Yes. Make it back. Yeah.
Actually, I noticed there are two columns in the result comparison table.
Yes.
For the last two, I'm wondering what's the difference.
This 10 means that the K is set to 10. This 20 is set to 20. Yeah, sorry.
So from the slides you were showing for the preferential attachment network and the three regular network or whatever, don't go back to them. It's just from these slides, I got the impression that you would be training the network on a particular graph and then using it to do link prediction on that graph. So your answer to Sunlight surprised me that you said it was universal. So now I'm wondering how it worked here. Like you trained on a set of these networks and then used it to predict on another network?
No. For each network, we completely train on this network and predict its own links.
Okay.
That's not what I...
But what you are saying is transfer learning. It is also potential.
Oh yeah, no, but that wasn't, my question was simpler than I think you were thinking it was. So you're specifically, so what you do is you take a specific network,
Yes.
you train on that, let's say you divide that network into two in some manner, you train on half of it,
Yeah.
then you delete links, 10% of the links in the other half, and then you test on that, and you do this a few times to get your result.
Yes.
Okay, fine, then I actually had, so that's what I was wondering on the follow-up on that, right, which is that, so it seems like one of the critical differences, correct me if I'm wrong, between your algorithm and the others is that you actually have sort of graph-specific information that you could be using in order to do link prediction on that graph. And so that's now I'm getting to sort of the transfer learning aspect of it to some extent, which is, whereas all of the other methods that you, at least the ones you briefly described, right, are kind of agnostic as to what graph they're predicting on. And so I guess I'm just wondering, have you tried the transfer, or even if you train on all of the networks and test on one of them or something like
No,
that?
I haven't.
Okay.
Because I showed that in the visualization experiments, the extracted subgraphs are completely different over different networks.
Right, but it's possible that you could learn some universal dictionary of these across all of them, right?
Transfer
Which would be
learning,
pretty
we
cool.
should adapt different sources.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I agree.
by the way.
That would be an interesting investigation.
Yes, yes.
It's gonna work worse, but maybe it doesn't work that much worse. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, when you have no training data on this network, you can use the
Yeah,
transfer.
exactly. So when you get a new network, you can just use the existing thing.
exactly.
Cool.
I've got one more technical comment. So, when you're doing the Weisweiler-Lehmann or this like preserving Weisweiler-Lehmann transformation, you build up this little dictionary of these like little subgraph components, right? And that defines a color class. But it seems like there could also be a dictionary of all of these color classes that you use for every network instead of doing a new coloring for each individual little subgraph. Does that make sense? So let's say that I'm going to say a node connected to an edge, so just a little isolated node. This is going to be color class 1. Anytime it appears anywhere, instead of for this particular graph, I call it color class 1.
Then you
So I've got a dictionary of all the color classes that are used for all of the.
But I guess that will result in exponential colors, right?
That could, I don't know.
Yeah. But I haven't tried.
Yeah, but maybe we have a dictionary of like the most commonly occurring, right? And then the other ones we label on demand. Right? I don't know. This is just one thing I was thinking about was that
Run the Weisweiler-Lehmann on the entire graph.
on the entire graph, and then maybe like if there's a small number of the color classes that represent a large fraction of the nodes in the graph, maybe we somehow keep those around and then we add new color classes for the weird stuff.
But I would say that since we are learning from the subgraph patterns, we should better separate subgraphs from each other. If you run WL on the entire graph, you may lose some local pattern information. I don't know how to say this, but actually these subgraphs there may be some asymmetric subgraphs. We actually learn from the subgraph patterns, but not the entire graph, using the local information. I don't know whether I get you understand.
Yeah, I mean, my idea could be bad.
But thank you.
Yeah. For a small question, so when you experiment, you partition the graph into half and half. If the size is different, then you cannot apply the same network to the test graph, right?
The size is not different.
But the adjacent matrix is the input of the neural network.
Yes.
That depends on the size, the number of nodes of the
Oh yeah.
graph.
I keep that to k. K is a user-defined number. And in experiments, I tested k equals 1, equals 10, equals 20, equals 40. Yeah. And the performance are consistently good.
So I'm saying it's just you can only train and predict on the same side of the graph.
Yes, but when you are predicting new links, new potential links, you can also extract a same size local neighborhood subgraph as the training. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Yes. I guess I can finish. I'm not nervous now.
Enjoy feedback. Okay. My biggest feedback is that you should put down the laser pointer. That was extremely distracting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Other than that, I think the talk's pretty good. I think the structure of the talk makes sense. I mean, I'm primed to be ready to hear this talk, so I don't know about the general audience. I guess you don't really have the best judges because we're both kind of like really close to this area. So you should ask your peers how well it came across to a general audience. I think the one thing that could be more clear in this talk is like the test setup, because there were lots of questions afterwards about how you actually ran the tests. So I think it might make sense to talk about that more deeply.
Yeah.
And also the presentation of the results I think could be a lot more clear. Like this slide in particular is just really bad. Like look at this, there's so much information here. So I would like encourage you to think about how to simplify this slide so that the story, that your method is like absolutely the best and all the other methods are horrible, like comes through more clearly instead of me having to parse through all the, look for the bold and all of these numbers. Which are, in your column, but I don't know, like it's not the most clear. But otherwise, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think the research is compelling.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Roman said. So yeah, I guess my two main points of this feedback. So first of all, it's somewhat important to try to distinguish the research from the talk, but it's much easier to give a really good talk on really good research, and I think this qualifies. It's very cool. So that definitely helps. In terms of the talk, I think there were probably so my two main things that I was going to say were, one, stop it with the laser pointer, and two, it's just, you want to use the laser pointer minimally, so you just keep it off and then use it when you need to point at something. And also, this is just something that might come with time because you were nervous, but it's like you could slow down the pace of talking. It's like, it was still very comprehensible, but it was clear that you were going fast, right? Just in terms of your pace of speaking. Your slides were awesome for the most part. I agree with Roman, you need to think about how to present this. And to some extent, it doesn't matter that this is the standard in the KDD community, which I know it is, and you have to present this in the paper, but if you're giving a general audience talk, you need to figure out how to, probably just a bar graph of some kind will work. Perhaps picking a few of these methods, and that might work. I guess, yeah, so the other things, I won't repeat all the stuff that Roman said, I do agree with that. I think Rock's question earlier on was basically he was asking what is ground truth over here. So if you explain that earlier, the task I'm going to do is I'm going to delete some edges, I'm going to assume that that these edges exist, these edges don't, and then this is how I'm going to evaluate. And that would help, especially for people who aren't familiar with evaluation standards there. The other somewhat minor point, but it's like, you could explain and motivate a little bit better why you need the color ordering of the type that you get out of the WL algorithm, because you need to feed it into a network that needs to have these nodes going in a particular order or something like that. But motivating the need for that might be useful, because then people could, I kind of know what's going on, but I suspect that if people didn't, that might have been a little bit, okay, this is cool, but why do you need to do this? But yeah, so, other than that, it's actually like a very good talk, so I wouldn't say that you need to do too much on it, but these are the main points.
Sex. The second part.